Раз, два, три, как звук. Ну ладно. Сейчас будем проходить стэнли парэбл ультра делюкс. Ну, попытаемся на все концовки вырулить. Вот. Тут где-то можно на стул кое-какой.
No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
На какой там стул можно залезть? Так прикольно. Не знаю, это может работать только в первой части. Так, начнем с концовок. Первое, это если мы будем слушать его.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there. Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track.
Так еще прикольно, то что какие-то взаимодействия.
There was nothing here. No choice to make, no path to follow. Just coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover no indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this. What dark secret was being held? What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number. 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly. Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Мы чё, в СКП играем? Что это? Ой, я уже боюсь, что мы решили слушать его.
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself.
Сейчас это безнадежнее сделаю.
Why did he feel this
Если
now,
можно.
when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long.
Нет, нет!
Whoops. Nope. Never mind. Stanley actually got back into the elevator and went back up. Silly me. Why did Stanley do that when he knew that it would just lead back to his boss's office? Well, that's a great question. I just can't wait to find out.
Если хочешь, то я скажу. Я случайно.
Here we are, Stanley. It's your boss's office. Exactly the way it was before you got onto the elevator. It's still just exactly what it is. What a decision you've made to come up here and look at the office again. This has fleshed out the plot of the story in new and fascinating ways I could have never anticipated. It's that keen eye for storytelling that you have. An incisive rapid fire of critical plot points, one after the other, weaving a rich tapestry of uncompromising narrative. Wow. I'm bolted to the edge of my seat.
Вот это первая концовка. И да, мы больше тут ничего не сможем сделать. Ну, кроме как вернуться обратно.
Now he's getting back into the elevator and going down again. Ladies and gentlemen, how does he keep coming up with all of this?
Элементарно.
Surely this time Stanley will walk forward into the spooky corridor. Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read
Escape
Mind Control Facility.
Попозже. Сначала сюда.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
Сейчас мы активируем один круг.
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed.
Ой,
Each
камера.
bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many
Там
individuals
ошибка.
reduced to
Там
images on a
ошибка.
screen, and Stanley, one of
Вот
them,
там ошибка.
eternally monitored in this place where freedom.
Fired. Вон там что-то.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been
там
manipulated to
какая-то
accept
свинья.
it blindly?
200.
No. He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never. It was unthinkable. Wasn't it?
В смысле, мы все-таки в эскапейд едем.
Truly spent his
Я не
entire life
хочу.
utterly blind to the world. But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life.
Это
For
чувак?
he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Пятерку игре. Хоть это мы и должны были сделать в конце.
Oh, Stanley, you didn't just activate the controls, did you? After they kept you enslaved all these years, you go and you try to take control of the machine for
Мы
yourself.
все-таки в СКП играем.
Control? Oh, Stanley, I applaud your effort, I really do.
Мы сейчас удаляем игру.
There's only so
Поздравляю, мы удалили 6 игр у тебя на... Нет, почему мне... По каким играм мне стримы делают?
You're going to have to do much better than that. I'm afraid you don't have nearly the power you think you do. For example, and I believe you'll find this pertinent, Stanley suddenly realized he had just initiated the network's emergency detonation system. In the event that this machine is activated without proper DNA identification,
он это вроде включить. Оф, выключить.
How long until detonation then? Let's say 2 minutes. Ah, now this is making things a little more fun, isn't it, Stanley? It's your time to shine. You are the star. It's your story now. Shape it to your heart's desires. Oh, this is much better than what I had in mind. What a shame we have so little time left to enjoy it. Mere moments until the bomb goes off. But what precious moments each one of them is. More time to talk about you, about me, where we're going, what all this means. I don't know where to start. What's that? You'd like to know where your co-workers are? A moment of silence before you're obliterated.
нет, там выход.
All right, I'm in a good mood. You're gonna die anyway. I'll tell you exactly what happened to them. I erased them. I turned off the machine. I set you free. Of course, that was merely in this instance of the story. Sometimes when I tell it, I simply let you sit there in your office forever, pushing buttons endlessly and then dying alone. Other times, I let the office sink into the ground, swallowing everyone inside, or I let it
первая концовка это связано со взрывом.
Watching you try to make sense of everything and take back the control wrested away from you, it's quite rich. I almost hate to see it go. But I'm sure whatever I come up with on the next go around will be even better. My goodness, only 34 seconds left. But I'm enjoying this so much. You know what? To hell with it. I'm going to put some extra time on the clock, why not? These are precious additional seconds, Stanley. Time doesn't grow on trees.
Я что-то подорвал кому-то
What's the matter, Stanley? Is it that you have no idea where you're going or what you're supposed to be doing right now? Or did you just assume when you saw that timer that something in this room was capable of turning it off? I mean, look at you. Running from button to button, screen to screen, clicking on every little thing in this room.
Я не знаю.
These numbers.
Не знаю здесь.
These color ones. Or maybe this big red button. Or this door.
Два.
Everything, anything, something here will save me.
Где три?
Think that, Stanley? That this video game can be beaten? Won? Solved? Do you have any idea what your purpose in this place is? Stanley, you're in for quite a disappointment. But here's a spoiler for you. That timer isn't a catalyst. It's just sticking away to your death. You're only still playing instead of watching a cutscene because I want to watch you for every moment that you're powerless.
Синяя кнопка. Синяя.
Challenge. It's a tragedy. You wanted to control this world, that's fine.
Зеленая.
But I'm going to destroy it first, so you can't. Take a look at the clock, Stanley. That's 30 seconds you have left to struggle. 30 seconds until a big boom and then nothing. No ending here, just you being blown to pieces. Will you cling desperately to your frail life, or will you let it go peacefully? Another choice. Make it count, or don't. It's all the same to me, all a part of the joke. And believe me, I will be laughing at every second of your inevitable life from the moment we fade in until the moment I say happily ever after.
Вот и первая концовка подкатила. А как?
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
Ну ладно.
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a
Новый контент.
New content? What does that mean? New content.
Вон туда я не могу попасть. Да, для нового контента нужно хотя бы одну концовку открыть. Если вам страшно открывать первую, попозже покажу, как открыть еще одну.
Hello, and thank you for playing the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. As you may know, the Stanley Parable was a video game released in 2013 on home computers. After receiving critical and commercial success, it was expanded upon in 2022 with the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, a reimagining of the game for consoles and home computers.
Да, это, если что, не оригинально.
The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe features exciting new content that broadens and expands expands the world of the Stanley Parable, delighting audiences the world over. Please, step inside and see what thrilling new adventures await in the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe.
Oh, well, this sounds delightful. I'm very excited to see the thrilling new Ultra Deluxe content.
А нет. Такую ловушку вроде бы уже кого-то там захватывают. Замуровали демоны. Замуровали.
Is it broken? What's going on here? Should we be moving somewhere or oh, there we go.
Вот.
All right, finally, at long last, it's on to the new content. I've never been more ready.
Первую часть хотя бы он сам читал. А я чё? Я не читаю.
I have to say, initial impressions of Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, mostly tedious. It's as if oh, okay. Let's see the content. Give me the content, Stanley. All right.
Oh.
All right, let's see. It's the jump circle. Is that it? Surely that's not all the new content. There has to be something else, for goodness. Another elevator. Stanley, I have to say, initial impressions of this game are not positive. It's just elevators and jumping. Is this what passes for exciting new content?
Нет, плохой контент. Скучный. Всего лишь прыжковый круг. Дайте мне ведро, и я буду счастлив. В него хотя бы можно замуровать. Вот этого, который читает.
That's it? Oh, you've got to be kidding me. You see, Stanley?
Открой дверь!
When greedy video game developers with no respect for their fan base rush a cheap expansion to market for no reason other than to make an easy dollar. And
пару долларов заработать.
Right now at the game's achievements, and it's hard to believe one of them actually says, "Test achievement, please ignore." What quality assurance department signed off on this? I'm infuriated and I'm offended, and I intend to find these people on Twitter and hold them personally accountable. It's my fault, Stanley. I built up too much anticipation around the new content, I'm afraid. It could never have lived up to such expectations. If you're still with me,
Следующий стримак про всадников.
And we'll try to get back to what the Stanley Parable is really about. No frills,
Потом будет
no gimmicks. Just you and me having a great time together.
Первая часть.
What do you say, friend?
Да, он сейчас нас вернет. Ой. 427, это не мое. Это же не мое. Да еще и никуда не могу.
Stanley, come over here. In the vent. I want to show you something.
Нет.
Oh, you don't want to see the cool surprise I made for you? Well, fine. You're a dork anyway, so okay.
Ах ты ж! Чертила.
Oh, never mind. You're not a dork.
Ах ты ж, ты еще воспользовался гаечным ключом. О, меня тэпает. Тэпает на совет директоров.
Okay, you remember how cheap and unsatisfying the new Ultra Deluxe content turned out to be? Well, it got me thinking about the past, and how much better the Stanley Parable used to be. So I made something special and tucked it away here with the game's developers won't find it. Just our little secret. Take a look. I call it the Memory Zone. It's where I've been storing
Ты
all my
издеваешься.
favorite memories, so I
Сделал
can
так,
relive
что
the
я не
peak
смог.
experiences of my life whenever I want.
Так я ж придумаю, как вывалить.
Stanley Parable on PC. You see, Stanley, doesn't the memory zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap re-release? Remember back in October of 2013 when the game originally launched? Back then, video games had integrity. Back then, it all meant
Нет,
something.
такого нету.
Waste.
Да Лара. Ачивки. Да, тут Стэнли парэбл не такой, который вы думали. Чего? Почему Стэнли такой?
And over here is where I keep reviews of the Stanley Parable. Like this stunning triumph of games journalism. 10 out of 10.
Я печатаю вам отзывы.
James Stephanie Sterling writes, and I quote, "We're so many games that aspire to be more than games."
Я печатаю вам отзыв, то что до меня докапывается ваш человек.
Every game ever created. Did you hear that, Stanley? Every game ever created. That's how grand and all-encompassing the original Stanley Parable was. It was literally every game ever created. It was Skyrim, it was Persona 3, it was
Skyrim.
And now, it's nothing.
Чё, ты хочешь, чтоб я стрим по Скайриму записал? Ты чё, издеваешься?
A lifeless husk with an hour of new elevator content.
О. Блин. Original.
Here's another moving passage, this time from GameSpot.com. The Stanley Parable is both a richly stimulating commentary on the nature of choice in games and one that offers some of the most enjoyable, surprising and rewarding choices I've ever been confronted with in a game. 9 out of 10. Don't you get it, Stanley? The game was
Смайл
perfect.
кнопка.
It didn't need anything else.
Я
It
её
didn't need
хочу
new
найти.
content. It just needed to be left alone. To spend the rest of time collecting dust in the hallowed hall of beloved video game memories.
А как я оттуда пройду?
These were simpler times, Stanley. But I wouldn't give to go back to have it all over again. Wait, hang on. I don't recall this part of the memory zone before. What's this? What's down here? Oh no. Oh God, no.
Это отзывы
Collection of reviews from Steam, the online video game distributor. I haven't looked at these in years. I can't even imagine what's been collecting down here. Surely these reviews were glowing as well, weren't they? Honestly, I could not bother to play this game to full completion. The narrator is obnoxious and unfunny, with his humor proving to be more irritating than entertaining. Unfunny! I'm not trying to be funny. I'm trying to make a serious work of art. I suppose I could write up a handful of things into the Stanley Parable, but the game is already such a densely layered web of profound philosophical insights that I can't even imagine where I'd have to stick them.
Мы теперь с ним становимся. Нет, хороший отзыв.
Okay, let's see what this one is.
Почему плохие не размываются, а хорошие размываются? Походу сам разраб не рад плохим отзывам. А, нет. Вот тут тоже какие-то. Какой-то отзыв. Давай выберу. Ой, опять ударил в микрофон. Левый будет.
What an awful memory.
И нет, я еще не проходил ни на каком в Ультра Делюкс. Ультра Делюкс просто отличается очень сильно. Прямо на дне. Куки 9, нет! Не плавай. Всплывай, я тебя подниму. Пойдем.
Well, yes, I think we can do that. If I'm truly too preachy, then maybe letting you skip ahead for just a moment, surely it couldn't hurt. Not if it means we can strike these negative reviews from the record. Only positive reviews of the Stanley Parable. That's my motto today, and it's always been my motto. I'd do anything for the customer, Stanley. Yes, a skip button we shall have.
Хотите приколь? Я сейчас... Сейчас... Я посмотрел свой стрим.
And here it is. Go ahead. Oh, you're back, you see. You were only frozen in time for a few minutes, but it was plenty of time for me to deliver a long, rambling monologue full of unnecessary... Well, there's sport. You really did me rambling on a bit, didn't you? But that's the power of the button. The minute I start to go off on a thoughtless display of self-absorption, it's right at your... Okay, welcome back, Stanley. Now, I should say that the amount of time the button has been skipping through is becoming longer and longer. That last one was, well, I want to say maybe 30, 45 minutes? It's not... Stanley, please don't push the button again. It's been 12 hours. You've just been frozen there. I don't know why the skips are getting longer, but they're really, truly... Oh, Stanley, you're back. You're back. Goodness, I have someone to talk to again. Stanley, I think it's been a week. Or 2 weeks. I've been sick. Oh, hello. It's you. You're here again. Welcome. I have had time to think about you and about us and...
Я просто его вывожу. А где?
But they didn't understand the game was never meant to be funny. It was meant to have a point. It was meant to speak to the human condition. But where are the jokes? Where are the jokes? They bemoaned. They screamed. They gnashed it.
Я просто проматываю монолог.
The end is never the end, 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 is never the end.
Это подрывчик можно сделать.
End is never the end, is never the end.
Я как будто в другие вселенные прохожу. О, как. А откуда звук? О, солнце светит. Нужно больше. О, растения. Нет, растения. Мы в зомби-апокалипсисе, спасайтесь, кто может. Ой, сейчас хоррор будет. Кто заказывал хоррор? Я нет. Нет, кнопочка. Кнопочка. Она не работает. Это больше. Прощай. Парэбл, вернись. Я так больше не буду. Да не буду я так больше, парэбл. О, он меня услышал все-таки.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Never content.
Oh, good. You noticed my sign. Yes, I have something very exciting to
Че,
show you.
запер дверь? Нет, не запер. Молодец. Хороший мальчик. Блин, сейчас нас будут резать. Чё? Почему мы все пропустили? Сейчас точно.
You see, Stanley,
Как?
I've been reflecting on the Stanley parable.
В каком-то там фильме там кто-то там упал с лифта, по которому еду. Мне не нравится музыка.
Yes, you see, isn't this far superior
Вторая часть!
re-release with a few
Ты угораешь?
Think of all the new territory we'll cover.
Вторая часть. Ты серьезно?
New experience built from the ground up. Why there are so many possibilities? It could go in so many different directions. This is what fans have truly been asking for.
Это все, что у тебя хватило фантазии?
Calling it the Stanley Parable 2 is just so much catchier than Ultra Deluxe, don't you think? Ultra Deluxe? What does it even mean? But the Stanley Parable 2, now that's an artistic statement right there. It's future-oriented. It screams progress and
Почему Стэнли не
and
хочет ничего
long-term
пытаться
franchising
открывать?
Now, to be clear, I haven't quite nailed down what exactly the Stanley Parable 2 is going to be.
Сейчас мы будем
Let's
скачивать
take a
игру в
look at
игру.
the features I've been developing for it. I figure
Кинотеатр.
that if I loosely organize a handful of interesting concepts,
О,
that surely the game
мне
will sort of
нельзя, что ли?
naturally spring up around them. It'll all work itself out. Game development is much more of a fuzzy magic than anything.
Почему я фильм не могу
Go on,
посмотреть?
try out some of the new features. For the Stanley Parable 2, I asked myself, what do players really want? And of course, the first and most obvious answer is that they want to be individually recognized and validated as people. So with that in mind, my first addition to the game is this button which speaks the name of the person playing the game. Isn't that wonderful? Sorry, I should have clarified. Right now, the button only says the name Jim. But of course, in the final game, this button will say your name, whatever name that is. Here, let's have you role-play as Jim to really simulate the full experience of this feature. Just play along. I promise you'll love it. Okay, here we go. Let's take a deep breath, clear your mind, forget whoever you are and simply become a person named Jim. I want you to... Jim. Whoa, hold on. I wasn't finished setting up the backstory. If you don't properly roleplay as Jim, then you'll never understand the impact of this button. Otherwise, it's just a stupid button that says somebody else's name. Okay, we're doing it again, and this time let me finish first.
Договорились.
Now, allow yourself to become Jim. Alright, fine, whatever. It's just a meaningless button that says Jim. Are you happy now? Get out of here. I'm done with this button. Why don't you go humiliate me in front of a different feature that I worked very hard on?
Jim.
See, if you'd only played along, that would have been your name the button said. But no. Instead, I can't even think about it. I'm taking the Jim button away.
Jim.
О, ну ты плохой человек. Туда нельзя провалиться. О.
Maybe I'll only let people named Jim play the Stanley Parable. An epilogue would be fun, wouldn't it, Stanley? Yes, it would go at the end of the, well, we'll figure that out later.
Что? Бесконечная дыра, халявное достижение чемпиона мира по настройкам? Нет.
Okay, I'll be honest, I haven't yet decided on this one. I think that in the new version, the office could use a bit of decoration, like balloons. But I'm undecided on Get Well Someday and Happy 12th Birthday. Which would you go with? You know, sometimes when you solicit another person's opinion, it makes you realize that you knew which one you actually really wanted all along. Get Well Someday it is.
Спасибо.
Or actually, maybe I should have gone with... No, I've made my decision, we're moving on.
Но сначала халявное достижение будем получать.
Ah, collectibles. Now it's a real video game. In the Stanley Parable 2, you'll run around gathering up these miniature Stanley figurines. And what's truly innovative is that there will be no reward for collecting all of them. I don't want to stifle the intrinsic joy of watching a number go up. You simply collect all of them, and then you move the hell on with your unremarkable life. God, it really is the worst when you collect everything in a video game and then they give you a big fancy reward for it. Absolutely tragic. Now here's something special. You remember that broken test achievement that got left in the game on accident? Well, I'm developing a technology to simply give you the achievement. Yes. Okay, perhaps I should have clarified. This is technology that will exist. Right now, the achievement is still fully broken. I'm not a wizard, Stanley, but I guarantee it will.
Я сейчас все хакну и получу свое халявное достижение.
Uproariously demanding this feature. Gamers, we hear you, and I promise it will happen.
О, халявное достижение не работает. там ничего нету. Тогда пошлите на бесконечную дыру.
What else? What other exhibits haven't we seen yet?
Идем на бесконечную дыру без тебя. Ты плохой.
Stanley, here's an idea that I'm truly fond of. It's never been done before in a video game. This is in fact a hole that you can fall down forever. That's right. Infinite falling. You can fall until the end.
Хорошая наркомания.
You see, isn't it wonderful? One of my more ingenious concoctions, if I do say so. Now, since you've gotten to see the infinite hole, you can press the teleport button to pop back up to the top, and we can continue onward.
Не-а. Не-а.
Now, I don't mean to be a bummer, but I do recommend you use the teleport button to go back to the top. Maybe do it on the sooner rather than later spectrum of things.
Она не такая уж бесконечная вроде. Там вроде уже звуки
I
заканчиваются.
don't know quite how to say this tactfully, but it's possible that I slightly exaggerated the infinite nature of the hole. Is it a very, very deep hole? To be certain it is.
Вот он начал говорить. Крайне глубокая дыра, а уже звуки как будто уже заканчиваются.
Well, that sort of depends on your definition of infinity. From one perspective, the infinite is merely philosophical in nature. It's more of a... Okay, well, good for you. You
Я вижу начало.
Stanley. I'm a liar and a cheat.
На креативе было бы быстрее добраться.
I think the issue here is just that you're unusually fascinated by falling. What normal person actually wants to fall infinitely? I figured the hole was as deep as anyone would actually need. Don't you put this on me. Maybe you're the problem. Look, things got a little heated there. I think we both said some things we didn't mean. Why don't we just put all this behind us and agree to just call the hole mostly infinite? If that works for you, then go ahead and press the teleport button to warp up to the top of the hole and we can move on. I'll just be...
Я не пойду.
Great. Now, I'm very... Oh, for heaven. You see, I was right. The problem is you. The problem is that you like holes too much. Not normal.
Уже заканчивается, что?
Yep, that's an infinite hole right there. Goes on forever till the end of time. Don't need to see it all, but not you. Oh, no, 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 no. You have a weird sort of... Oh. Did the holes even shorter this time? Like you spent a little less time in there than you did before. I mean, admittedly, I didn't.
Я нажимаю телепорт наверх.
I didn't think it was that not infinite. Well, I suppose once again there's nothing to do here. If you decide you've had enough of that,
Наверх и зажал, идти вперед. И никто не остановится.
Had enough? I'm positively. Gosh, how could I have guessed? You're back in the hole. If this started to become a thing where... Wow.
Ого, ну да.
I'm starting to
Я
become...
начинаю обязательно что-то, да. Только не абсолютно бесконечно. Там пару сантиметров пролетели.
Where it's no longer feasible to call the hole infinitely deep, even by the lax overall standards for accountability and marketing. What's going on here? Stanley, I have no explanation for the uncertain nature of the hole's length. Here, let's try something. Let's pop back up to the top, and we'll see if it gets any shorter. Well, there it is. The shame of my lie has come to haunt me. Not only is the... How is this still appealing to you? I know you're obsessed with holes, but at this depth, I just can't see this scratching the itch. Oh, who am I to judge? You just do whatever it is you're here to do and hit the teleport button when you're ready to move on.
Кнопка телепорта.
Is the, teleport button not working? You sure?
Ты уверен?
Well, I mean...
Да.
I really don't have an explanation. Still nothing. Well, I suppose
Тогда, видимо, мне...
I'm out.
Пока.
Goodbye, Stanley.
Прощай,
You couldn't bear
Стэнли.
to be away from the hole, and now you'll get more time with it than you could ever have
Ну
asked
ты
for. It's a win
чертила.
for everyone.
И
You get
начертил
to
себе
the
тут
hole, I can do
дыр.
literally anything else.
А люди тут
Take care,
провалятся.
Stanley. I hope you and the whole have a wonderful rest of eternity together.
О, чё за звук? Что за звук? Мне не показалось ли? Или в огне черное было? Вот и одна концовочка. Эй! Парэбл! Парэбл! Она уменьшается! Кто? Дыра! В смысле? Десантура! Ту-ту-ту-ту-ту! Ту-ту-ту-ту-ту! Нет, я знаю, он сейчас нас тэпнет самое начало. Собачки мне больше подошли. Нет. Эррор!
Stanley? 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 Oh good, you're awake. It seems you had sort of dozed off there, drifting away into dreamland. But we can't have that, Stanley, because this hole is just so darn fascinating that I want you to be wide awake for every second of it. You don't want to miss a single moment. So how about if I just pop in from time to time and wake you up
Да, мне как-то понравилось дырки.
on the hole. From the looks of things, you and I will have many, many years here in this hole, and I'm looking forward to all of them. Stay alert, Stanley. I'll be back. Toodle-pip.
Он перезапустил игру.
Here we are. Go on. Try out some of the new features.
Это не Стэнли Парэбл 2, это Стэнли Парэбл. Теперь Стэнли не слабак может выбивать двери? Нет. Все, я не играю так. Ах ты ж кнопку не вернул. Какие тут фичи. У тебя тут кнопки пропадают. Мерч. Почему я мерч не могу взять?
Come now, you've already made your choice. It's true that you chose badly, but we all have to move on from our mistakes.
Да, я же вижу, что там уже выбрано за меня. Бессердечные. Главное достижение наверх. И... А, нет. Вот сюда вроде бы халявное достижение. Я все никак не могу починить машину. Вот в таком грузовике вроде бы Юрия или там какого-то немецкого солдата стрелял плохой человек из Call of Duty. И когда кое-что сделал плохое. Я нифига не могу понять, что где. Меня обманули с прыжковым кругом. Туда. Туда. Значит, на выход.
Oh goodness, Stanley, this is fairly awkward. I hate to do this, but
Ach,
before
tyż.
you leave, you really should go to the bucket exhibit. You see, there's a surprise I was going to spring on you later, and it involves the bucket. And I really do hate to break the illusion, but it's important that you go see the bucket, okay? All right, I'll get out of your hair now.
Где? Где? Где ведро? Где мое ведро? И тут ты обманул меня. А, все. Я не могу больше сюда. Замечательно. Прыжковый круг. Я смотрю на тебя. Ты почему туда-то? А вот.
You know what, Stanley? I actually think the jump circle was a pretty good idea. I'd like to hang on to that for the sequel.
Новый контент. Джаб. Куркла. Киркла. Оу. Все. Самое прикольное, если были бы такие люди, которые сейчас вернулись бы в дыру. Такие, как я, сейчас возвращаюсь. Шутка. Ничего, реально поверили. Ну вот шарики белые вместо синих. Я так не играю.
A common complaint of the Stanley Parable was that it was confusing and paradoxical, that it engendered a chaotic sense of reckless despair in those who played it. Well, I'm happy
Я
to say
сейчас
that
кликаю
after much
мышкой.
consideration, I've engineered a clever solution to this fundamental problem with the game. It's the Stanley
метро.
Parable Reassurance Bucket. You see, Stanley, anytime you're holding the bucket, a sense of calm and ease will fill your mind and your heart. It's true. As long as you hold on to the bucket, the many disorienting contradictions of the Stanley Parable will feel perfectly normal and perhaps even comforting. You may even come to long for the gentle embrace of jarring cognitive dissonance while the bucket is in your arms. And to be honest, it's a much more convenient solution for me than actually redesigning the game to be less uncomfortable. Can you imagine what a pain in the ass that would be? Yes, the bucket is the perfect solution. Come on, give it a try. Can you feel it? The glow of comfort, even in the face of crushing despair, must already be sweeping through your body. And in fact, can I say that I do believe the bucket lends you an air of charisma as well?
Я самый крутой, я спидру.
The slightest bit more attractive as a person. The benefits of the bucket seem to go on and on, don't they? All this and more await you in the Stanley Parable 2. Does anyone give out awards for most enjoyable bucket in a video game? That really should be an award if it isn't already.
Ведро мы уходим. Да, тут сначала нужно отыграть на одну концовку, потом на другую. Сумка. Оу.
So, Stanley, what do you think? Do you like all of the new features? Yes, I know it's not exactly clear yet how exactly these features will come together as one single coherent video game, but I can feel it in my soul. It's going to work. There's definitely a good game in there somewhere. Say, let's do an experiment. I'll arrange these new features together and we'll see whether or not it coheres into a meaningful gameplay experience. Okay, are you ready? Here it is. I give you the Stanley Parable 2. I mean, there's potential here, right? It's sort of... Okay, never mind.
Как туда
Hold on,
попасть?
let me do a different arrangement.
Скажите мне. У меня 38 еще.
This is much better. I feel good about this. Here we go. Version 2. Who am I kidding, Stanley? This isn't a coherent video game at all. It's a lot of gags. And I do very much enjoy creating gags, but they don't add up to
Он
it.
просто добавил больше деталей.
I wanted more than anything to create a sequel that would capture all the magic of the first game. I wanted fans to love it. No matter how good these gags are, they won't stand on their own. They would need the structure and the gameplay of the original. Wait, maybe that's it. I can take the original Stanley Parable and simply insert a few of my new features into it. Tastefully, of course. With respect. With
Просто сейчас рассказываю весь сюжет первой части.
Would it possibly work? I suppose it could. But it would need a really, really tremendous title screen. A title screen that says with bold and uncompromising conviction, this is the Stanley Parable 2. Let me see if I can whip something up. All right, perfect. Go ahead. Take a look.
внешний вид. Ах, вы ж. Консоль.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on the keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-winning, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job.
Да-да, это новый Стэнли парэбл 2.
And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had...
Help, нельзя набрать, что ли?
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers. Stanley picked up the bucket.
Ведро. Идио.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this better than... No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift. Good,
said the bucket.
Now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him.
Кто-то говорит...
He unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked.
Кто-то сказал не верь совету, а кто-то сказал не верь ведру.
No, stop. Look there on the wall. You see, there's a sign right there. It says, no buckets past this point. Stanley, how could you think it was okay to bring the bucket here? Unless, what if the problem is that you actually don't know what is a bucket and what isn't a bucket? I suppose that would explain a lot about your behavior up to this point. Which, if that's true, well, my goodness, I think we have to do something about it. This misunderstanding could have dire consequences on the entire game if not addressed quickly.
Моя первая концовка без делюкса. Ах ты ж! Да, я пройду на нее.
Please, step in here for a moment. Now then, I'm going to run you through some test scenarios, and you'll tell me whether or not the thing I'm showing you
Есть клёвое достижение, все ведро.
Simple enough, right?
Наверное.
This should tell us everything we'll ever need to know about what is or is not a bucket. Okay, let's begin. Item 1. Is this a bucket? Correct. It is a hologram of a bucket, not an actual bucket. Item 2. Is this a bucket? Correct. It is a 3D printed recreation of a bucket, not an actual bucket.
Со мной вы не пропадете. Я знаю, как отличать ведра.
Item 3. Is this a bucket? Correct. This is a bucket.
Я знаю, как отличать ведра, со мной не пропадете.
Item 4. Is this a bucket?
Так. Нет.
Correct. This is a tractor and not a bucket. To be honest, I just sort of put this one in here as a gimme, but I was starting to get concerned that even this might be too much for you. Thank you for not making me look like an idiot. Okay, next one. Is this a bucket? Correct. This is a bucket. Item 6. Is this a bucket?
На самом деле нужно постоянно нажимать «да».
Trick question. Both. Gotcha. Item... Wait, hold on. I can't find the next one. Let me see. It should be around here somewhere. Okay, you and I both know there isn't anything here. And I don't appreciate the implication that nothing is a bucket when we both clearly know that a bucket is something. And therefore nothing could possibly be something. Unless, in your twisted mind, have you somehow convinced yourself that a bucket is nothing? Answer me straight, Stanley. Do you believe that nothing is a bucket? You know what? I'm too confused to even sort it out. I've lost all sense of perspective. What is a bucket? What isn't a bucket? Mere moments ago I could answer these questions with confidence. And yet now I'm somewhat adrift. Do any of us know what a bucket is? Am I a bucket? Stanley, I can't keep doing this. I'm losing myself, and myself was all I ever had to begin with. I'm afraid the bucket is threatening to tear our relationship apart. I can't have that. I'm sorry. But I'm going to erase all buckets from the game entirely.
Нет! Мое ведро! Нет! Ты чё, игру удалил?
Is everything gone? Why did everything disappear? Wait.
Он
Everything.
удалил мое
Every
ведро.
single thing in the game was a bucket. My God, I had no idea. How could... Except me. I'm not a bucket after all. And you, Stanley, you're still here. You're not a bucket either. Oh, this is wonderful news. We're not buckets. Yes, I actually feel much more at ease right now. It's delightful to get some clarity on that issue. But it doesn't change the fact that we haven't got a game.
Сейчас окажется ведро у меня в руках, которое было не ведро.
We'll put back all of the buckets, okay? And we'll know that it's all a bucket. But if you run into anyone else, maybe don't mention that. Who knows what that information might do to a person? All right, here we go. Stanley lifted the bucket into his arms, and a wave of comfort. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest, and this was not the correct way to the meeting room. But Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this better than the meeting room? Yes, Stanley thought to himself. Yes, perhaps it truly was. How in snow? Never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
Said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift. Good,
Said the bucket.
Now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
But Stanley feared that any path he walked might lead to the separation of himself and the bucket, his dearest friend. So he threw himself to his death, that they might die in one another's arms. How deeply touching. All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps the confusion and the chaos all seemed to melt away as Stanley embraced the bucket.
А вам не показалось, что офис поменялся?
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left. Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was where he'd find answers. Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office. You found one of them. One of the miniature Stanley figurines. Remember, no reward for collecting all of these, only the intrinsic pleasure of a job well done. You can't buy that sort of happiness, Stanley. God knows I've tried. So, I implore you to savor each and every moment you come across one of these beautiful figurines. But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then, something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. He looked down at the bucket in his arms. Am I crazy?
Показалось, что больше машины
his
нету.
gaze, but said nothing at all. That's strange, Stanley thought. Usually the bucket is a source of guidance and wisdom for me in difficult times such as these. He held the bucket close, yet felt none of its familiar reassurance and comfort. And that's when Stanley realized, this isn't my bucket. It's just a normal, everyday bucket. Someone else's bucket, perhaps. How did I end up with someone else's bucket? This is all terribly wrong. Surely no good would come from this. Who knows what sorts of bizarre hallucinations Stanley might experience without the psychologically grounding presence of his bucket. And indeed, now he noticed that the rooms were repeating, which was, of course, very odd. And now he felt himself floating off the ground. Oh, gracious, he exclaimed. Without my bucket, I've gone truly mad. Where is it? I must find it. Far off in the distance now, he heard it calling to him.
Stanley! Stanley, it's me! The bucket!
Could it truly be? He rushed forward from room to room, passing by one bucket after the next. None of them were his. None of them were his special bucket.
Come to me, Stanley! Find me!
He had to find the bucket. He had to return to his old friend. It was the only way to truly restore his sanity. And then suddenly, he froze dead in his tracks. He knew where the voice of the bucket had been coming from. The real bucket was inside of him all along. It was incredibly painful. Stanley doubled over in agony and blacked out. This is the story of a woman named Mariella.
О, новый
Mariella
персонаж.
woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, picked up her bucket of comfort and security, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town, talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. Right away, she knew what the problem was. This man had no bucket. Of course he'd gone mad, ranting and raving about a narrator describing all of his actions and how everything is predetermined and free will is an illusion and it's all just a video game. It could all have been prevented if only he'd taken his bucket with him. Perhaps he didn't even realize he'd forgotten his bucket at home in the first place. For for which her bucket would provide absolute guidance and total clarity on everything. Heck yes, she thought to herself, my life kicks ass. And she backflipped all the way to work. Just a step through this door, Stanley thought to himself, that's all I need. If I can make it through this door, I can make it through them all. Warmth spread through Stanley's arms. With the bucket in his arms again, he was home. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley went back to the meeting room.
No,
said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Good,
said the bucket.
now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked. No, stop. Look there on the wall, you see? There's a sign right there. It says, no buckets past this point. Stanley, how could you think it was okay to bring the bucket here? Unless, what if the problem is that you actually don't know what is a bucket and what isn't a bucket? I suppose that would explain a lot about your behavior up to this point. Which, if that's true, well, my goodness, I think we have to do something about it. This misunderstanding could have dire consequences on the entire rest of the game if not addressed quickly and properly.
Я сейчас вообще что-то без понятия.
The story is dependent on your understanding of what is and
Я
isn't
сейчас
a bucket.
только видно.
Step in here for a moment. Now then, I'm going to run you through some test scenarios, and you'll tell me whether or not the thing I'm showing you is a bucket. Simple enough, right? This should tell us everything we'll ever need to know about what is or is not a bucket.
А хотите знать, какие правильные ответы? Хоть мы и знаем уже.
Item 1. Is this a bucket? Incorrect. It is a hologram of a bucket, not an actual bucket. Item 2. Is this?
Я знаю все про ветра, но я хочу вывести нас на хорошую
It is a 3D printed recreation of a bucket, not an actual bucket.
Которая связана с А, нет, я не знаю. А, там... Что-то там на вершине.
Correct. This is a bucket. Item 4. Is this a bucket? What? Are you hallucinating? This is a tractor. It's an enormous machine that tills the earth. I thought this was a gimmick. How on earth did you manage to screw it up? Absolutely incredible. Let's just move on to the next one. Is this a bucket? Correct. This is a bucket.
Я знаю все про ведра.
Item 6. Is this a bucket? Trick question. Both. Gotcha. Item... Wait, hold on. I can't find the next one. Let me see. It should be around here somewhere. Okay, you and I both know there isn't anything here. And I don't appreciate the implication that nothing is a bucket when we both clearly know that a bucket is something, and therefore nothing could possibly be something.
Со звуком. Мы во второй части играем. А это сиквел.
Unless, in your twisted mind, have you somehow convinced yourself that a bucket is nothing? Answer me straight, Stanley. Do you believe that nothing is a bucket? You know what? I'm too confused to even sort it out. I've lost all sense of perspective.
Чё, ты угораешь? Ты тоже не понимаешь, что тут ничего нету? Я просто угораю, пытаясь вывести хорошее русло.
Stanley, I can't keep doing this. I'm losing myself, and myself was all I ever had to begin with. I'm afraid the bucket is threatening to tear our relationship apart. I can't have that. I'm sorry. But I'm going to erase all buckets from the game entirely. Okay, here we go. What happened? Is everything gone? Why did everything disappear? Wait, was everything a bucket?
Все ведро, да, я знаю.
Every single thing in the game was a bucket. Oh my god, I had no idea. How could... Except me. I'm not a bucket after all. And you, Stanley, you're still here. You're not a bucket either. Oh, this is wonderful news. We're not buckets. Yes, I actually feel much more at ease right now. It's delightful to get some clarity on that issue, but it doesn't change the fact that we haven't got a game. So, tell you what, I'll reset everything and we'll put back all of the buckets, okay? And we'll know that it's all a bucket. But if you run into anyone else, maybe don't mention that. Who knows what that information might do to a person? All right, here we go.
Ладно, сейчас идем без ведра. Чтоб он не закрыл перед нами потом. На этот раз дверь.
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Будем проходить
Stanley felt lightheaded.
на ту же концовку, которую я проходил с самого начала
Stanley took the
первой
first
части.
open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone... What? Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? What? I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance. Now listen carefully, this is important.
Так, слушай.
Stanley walked through the red door.
В красную? А мне кажется, в синюю.
Perhaps you misunderstood. Stanley walked through the red
красную?
door.
Но мне кажется, в синюю.
I still don't think we're communicating properly. Stanley walked through the red door.
Зашел в красную, а мне кажется, в синюю.
All right, fine. Go ahead, Stanley. You want to know so badly what's out there? You want to find out what lies at the end of this road you've chosen? Well, don't let me stop you. You see? There's nothing here.
Где мои секретные разработки? Верните. Dайте мне Майнкрафт, который был в первой части. Дайте мне его.
Do you not think I put a lot of time into that? Because I did. And in the end it was all for nothing. Because this is what you wanted to see.
Help me here, Stanley. Help elucidate these strange and unknowable desires of yours. What would have made this game better? What did you want to see? Vehicles? Skill trees? Work with me. You've given me absolutely nothing so far. Tell you what. Let me take a stab in the dark at a new design and you can give me some feedback. There we go. A third option. This already feels leaps ahead of where we were before. Go ahead, Stanley. Take it for a spin.
Дела нормально, все концовки открываю. Прикол в том, что третья дверь вела тоже туда же. И по центру. Я прошел полностью первую часть. Так что на нормальную концовку единичка.
I mean, I can understand if you had reservations, you saw ways the game could be improved to more fully express itself mechanically and artistically, but a 1? That's not even helpful. What am I supposed to do with that? But I guess it isn't my place to judge.
Я наиграл. Играл тут только... Стрим начался 3 часа, 1 час назад. Сейчас увидишь, сколько якобы тут идет. Я ни разу еще пока не играл в эту часть. А вот и я в самом конце. Ну, чё за несправедливость?
Now, would you say that competitive leaderboard helped you feel motivated to keep walking through doors? Again, honest answers, please. Hey, I nearly forgot. I've got a prototype of a new game I've been working on, and now
я не записывался в бета-тестеры. Сам проверять свою новую игру. Нет. Сейчас выкрутите, пожалуйста, звук на минимум. Сейчас будут орать, а я ничего не делаю.
I think the art world will really take
notice. Стоп, а как вы узнаете? Я, короче, в чат напишу, когда я сейчас напишу, когда включать. Все можете включать. Эта картонка очень сильно орала, как будто у нее 2 сильных динамика сзади. Я хочу играть. Дай мне играть. Ой, я погляжу, у вас тут вообще ни хрена не видно.
This seems like it'll work. Let's give it a shot. Aha! Fascinating. What do you think this game is about, Stanley? What's our backstory? What is our motivation? Well, it seems obvious to me that you are meant to play as a creepy man spying on innocent civilians below you from up high in your creep tower, perhaps for some sort of twisted erotic purpose. Yes, that must be it. What a fascinating venture into the experience of total mental depravity. So far, I love everything about this game, Stanley. And it seems there's even more. Come, let's venture outward and see what else is out there. No, it can't be. It is. It's an open world game. Good God, quickly block it off. Oh, thank goodness, Stanley. What a close call. You really wandered off into that thing. That big, open, just wandering around. No right or wrong directions. No path to follow. You can just go in any... Oh, thank heavens we avoided it. We're out of the woods now, Stanley. Okay, I'm going to get us out of here. Let's find another game. Preferably something with walls. Something with nice, big, insurmountable walls.
Открой.
Okay, I think this will be just the thing. Wonderful. See, this is exactly what I had in mind. Just a nice big box even to run around in. There isn't any possibility that you could get lost here. Now this is game design. Stanley, if you manage to get lost in this game, I will be phenomenally impressed. Okay, so what exactly do we do here? Let's see. There are lots of cars here in the back, but obviously there's no racetrack. Okay, I'm seeing that there's a ball of some kind back here. Is this game sports ball? Stanley, I think it's sports ball. Oh, what fun. We shall run the bases and do a touchdown together.
Ща.
Yes, I think surely
Мы
we must.
выиграем его.
Here's the ball.
Счетом 2-1. Хоть и в первой части хотя бы Майнкрафт был спортом. А тут что? Какая-то фигня, да еще и футбольчик.
Stanley, I have a thought, and I realize I'm not a sportsologist, but if one ball generates a certain amount of raw adrenal pleasure, then surely multiple balls makes for an even more euphoric sports experience. I'm going to try it out. Here comes another ball.
Сейчас мы забьем.
Hold on. What are you doing?
Все, я забил гол. Это правильный... Сейчас правильный выход. А, все, вижу, да, написал. Вот это правильный выход. Ой, чё-то башка... Ой. Я знаю. Это еще одна концовка. А сейчас, чтобы сюда, нужно правильно вывалиться. Самостоятельно, не знаю как. Я уже один раз во второй части всадников так повторил. Все. Все, еще одна концовка.
I wonder if he's happy with his choice, and if he's learned the heavy cost that comes with it. He'll understand soon what I was trying to tell him. He needs me. Someone who will wrap everything up at the end, to make sense out of the chaos and the fear and the confusion. That's who I am.
И это все я самостоятельными силами нашел. Все эти концовки.
Once this ends, after it all comes to a close,
И это все никак не пропустить.
Very soon. I can wait. A soft wind blew outside and perhaps rain started, and if it did, it stopped shortly after. Stanley picked up the bucket and smiled. He'd never be alone again, not truly alone, not with the bucket around. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left. Oh, Stanley, can you feel it? The broom closet. It wants the bucket. You can feel that, can't you? The aura of jealousy. It's as clear as day. This broom closet believes it deserves the bucket. I can really feel it. It's a bucket that belongs in a broom closet. That's what the broom closet is trying to say here. It's supposed to go with the other cleaning supplies. Good for you, Stanley. Don't give in. Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
Живете тут дорого-богато. Что тут? Экскутивы, что-то там.
Another miniature Stanley figurine. This,
Еще третья.
Must be a snappier name for these things. What about
Третья.
mini stands? Stanley figs. Oh, what about Stanlerines? Yes, I think I like that. Another Stanlerine under your belt.
Нет, я не знал, что тут статуэтка. Просто увидел новую дверь. Лифт! Нет. Тут ничего нет, значит в лифт идем. Не знаю, куда мы едем сейчас. В самый низ. О, набивает Стэнли. 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 Я передумал наверх. Мне надоело трястись.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire if not for the soothing presence of the bucket. But Stanley guessed the correct code by
Я знаю пароль с первой
Was
части.
it the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
Следующий стримач будет по SCP Container Beach.
The elevator raced downward, plummeting towards an unknown fate. It would be all Stanley could do to keep himself together
не
if
знаю.
not for the bucket. Soothing him, comforting him, reassuring
Ведро
him
меня
in the darkest
спасет.
moment of uncertainty, he would be all right.
Ведро, говори
Bucket is
путь.
here for you, Stanley.
Аласа.
Everything will be fine.
Идите прямо. Поверните направо. Направо.
Stanley and the bucket walked
Налево.
straight ahead through the large door that read Mind
Поверните
Control
направо.
Facility. Although this passageway
Шутка,
had the word
поверните
escape
налево.
written on it, the truth
Идите
was
прямо.
that at the end of this hall, Stanley and the bucket would both meet a violent death.
Это все еще вторая часть.
The door behind them was not shut. Stanley and the bucket still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track. At this point, Stanley and the bucket were knowingly walking forward into a very painful death for each of
Я
them.
знаю, что тут ничего особенного нету. Только просто дыра ада. В ад попадем. Все, мы в аду. Мы в аду. А точнее нас сейчас будут убивать. Все, нам конец.
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley and the bucket inched closer to their demise,
Нам
Stanley
конец.
reflected on how meaningless the bucket's warmth
Нам
and
конец.
comfort had turned out to be. To be sure, it puts the mind and the soul at ease to embrace the bucket.
Всё, нам
But what
конец.
use is a sense of ease when you're about to be crushed to
Нам
death?
конец.
This is what
Ведро
Stanley
спасай.
thought himself, and he sort of kicked himself
Шутка, я
for
знаю,
so
что
much
вот это
time
не позволит
carrying a bucket
ведь
everywhere.
нам расплющиться.
Farewell, Stanley.
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley and the bucket were led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, the bucket's life came to an end, as it was crushed violently to death.
Я вам сейчас всем интернет
It's a
тут
shame
перерублю.
such a magnificent bucket. It's true that all buckets are radiant in their own way, but this one stood above the rest. It was a glorious bucket to
Ведро!
Can you see how arrogant it was for Stanley to take a bucket like this and to claim it for his own? Can you see the hubris that blinded him? Can you see that the bucket is far more noble than Stanley will ever be in his short life?
Ведро. Я не знаю,
No man can own a bucket, and certainly not a bucket as dazzling to behold as this one. It is man who should kneel before the bucket.
Я собрал ведро.
But there is something we can do. Something we can do together, you and I, that will right this terrible wrong. Let Stanley die. Let him be crushed by the machine. Don't reset the game. Don't give him another opportunity.
Вас не расплющит, пока вы со мной вас не расплющит.
From their treatment as tools and implements, if only we let Stanley die together. The bucket shall take its place as ruler, as leader, as commander of a new world, a new vision.
А нет, расплющит. А, ну вот лоадинг.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
О. О.
At first, Stanley assumed he'd broken the map, until he heard this narration and realized it was part of the game's design all along. He then praised the game for its insightful and witty commentary.
Нет, он сейчас будет петь, спасите.
Examination of structural narrative tropes. So, now that you're here, what do you think? Isn't this a fun and unique place to be? Why don't we take a minute just to drink it all in? Okay, I'm over it now. What do you think? Are you sick of this gag yet? Ah, then in that case we'll continue. But now, here comes the real question. What do you think would have happened if you had told me that you wanted this to stop? Do you think it would have been particularly different? Would I have taken the same idea but rephrased it superficially to fit that answer? Perhaps you never would even have thought of it if I hadn't brought up the issue in the first place. Oh,